Sorry for the sniffles and snorts, chat. Just that time of year where, I'm starting to get plugged up. My mucus canals are getting all gross. So my apologies for all that. But moving on. So apologies at the top for just not reviewing too many movies these past couple of weeks. I've just been extremely busy with several other things that have been going on in my life. But things, thankfully, are starting to calm down. Some of the tech that I was working with wasn't working, but now it's working, so we're good. And now I can get back to reviewing some new releases and some stuff that I missed. And one of those films that I missed earlier this month was Hard Eyes. A new rom-com slasher directed by Josh Rubens. Now, Rubens is an upcoming filmmaker whose previous film I really enjoyed. I've talked about it several times here on stream and other platforms as well. That movie being Werewolves Within, which is a loose adaptation of a video game of the same name. But it pretty much was a horror comedy that followed a group of people stuck in a small town who then later get trapped in this huge snowstorm while suspecting each other of possibly being a werewolf, and then each of them being picked off one by one by one. It was very well written. I had a great cast of characters and was also just pretty funny too. So just because of all that, I was already looking forward to his film, Hard Eyes, which is written also by several genre writers and filmmakers, including Chris Landon, who's done stuff like Happy Death Day and Freaky and several other films. And, this movie, it stars some recognizable faces like Devon Sawa, Jordana Brewster, but it mostly focuses on Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding, who play co-workers who are stalked over a long night by the Hard Eyes killer, a serial killer who murders couples across the United States on Valentine's Day. The problem is that Holt and Gooding's characters of Allie and Jay, play Allie and Jay respectively, they're not a couple, right? At least not at first. And they are mistaken by the Hard Eyes killer, HEK for short, nice acronym, as a couple, and then bloody and murderous hijinks ensue. Now, for those that don't know, I enjoy a good slasher film, especially ones that go the extra mile. I like some goofy stuff. I like some corny stuff, believe me. Stuff from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I'll take it, I'll eat it up. But I really appreciate the slasher films, that take the time to develop their characters, or at least make them likable and charming. And if they do meet an unfortunate demise, I'll actually feel something. And that is certainly the case for Holt and Gooding, who have great chemistry throughout the film with each other, and they just don't feel like meat being set up for the grinder. Like Holt, who I'm relatively unfamiliar with as an actress. Maybe I've seen her other things. I can't recall immediately. But I like her character. Her character of Allie, she's anxious, she's dorky, she's cute, she's adorkable, one might say. And her interactions with Gooding throughout the film are really nice and really sweet and actually fun. You like them going through this horrific night with each other, hand in hand, lovingly hand in hand. It works, the majority of their scenes. And Gooding, his character of Jay, he's charming. He's got a little sass, a little sarcastic, but he's also able to mix in this suaveness. And Gooding's an actor I've already really grown to like. For people that may not be familiar with his work, you've probably seen him in the last couple of Scream movies. He's actually the nephew of Randy Meeks' character, and or the character of Randy Meeks, played by Jamie Kennedy. I thought he was kind of underdeveloped in 5, not his fault. But in 6, they gave him a lot more to do, and they really showcased his charm and personality. I'm like, I really like this guy. He was one of the standouts in the movie, in a Scream sequel that I thought was superior to the one previous to it, much better than 5 in my opinion. And I really like him. And again, that charm and that suaveness, that's on full display. And his chemistry of Holt is great. And there is speaking of Scream, there is a lot of Scream DNA in this movie. In terms of the structure, the types of people we encounter, it very much wears its influences on its sleeves. It's blood-soaked sleeves. And maybe that might be too familiar for some. Like, if you're not a Scream fan, if you're like, Scream is the worst thing to happen to the slasher subgenre, then this might not be for you, because it's very familiar, especially when you're just looking at Scream and Hard Eyes. They kind of feel like they're cut from the same cloth, blood-soaked cloth. Even the Hard Eyes killer, H.E.K., as he's called throughout the film, is I would say is a combination of Ghostface and Jason Voorhees, both in terms of his attitude and physicality. Like, when he first starts operating, it's like, he does the whole phone call thing, track you down, intimidate you, doing that. Very, very, Ghostface, or, that's a thing that's been such a part of Ghostface now that people just attribute that to him, even though the whole idea of the killer calling you on the phone's been around for decades, of course. But just in terms of his mannerisms, in terms of like how he carries himself, and like I just noticed like the shoulders, like these kind of like broad shoulders, always kind of like standing very square, and then you just hear H.E.K. coming. Like, I like the sound design for him because he just has these really, really heavy footfalls, and again, he's a fun killer throughout the entire movie. And you also have some other supporting performances I think are quite good. You have Gigi Zimbardo, who plays the character of Monica, who's Allie's friend. She's not in a lot, but she's mostly there as comic relief, and she's great. I like her relationship with Allie throughout the movie. You also have Michaela Watkins, who plays this like CEO of this company that's basically trying to sell fucking shitty products to people. She's like a witch. She's like a hellspawn. She's like the worst kind of fucking boss, where at first she acts sweet, but really like she's just horrible inside, and she expresses that quite often in the film. She's quite good in the limited screen time that she has. And both Devon Sawa and Jordana Brewster, as these two detectives who are trying to chase down H.E.K., they also have pretty good chemistry with each other, and you like them throughout the film. The humor, I would say, mostly hits. It doesn't hit all the time. I would say like 70% of the time it worked for me, right? But there's going to be some jokes that'll be like, fell flat or wasn't as funny as they thought it was, right? And you also have just some really good gory kills. Like, if you're a slasher fan, if you're like, give me the meat. All right, I see the meat. Where's the grinder? Don't worry. H.E.K. will provide all that. These kills, they get bloody. They get goopy. Very meaty. A lot of meat chunks in this one. Like, also a lot of crossbow bolts. So if you like a killer that uses a crossbow, if you like seeing an arrow go through people's faces and then arrow then torn out of those people's faces and like chunks of meat and brain matter and eyeballs falling out, this movie's got that for you. But even the opening kills, there's a fantastic opening kill in this movie where it's just, that person just turned into jelly. And I thought that was pretty good. I really like that. All the kills throughout the movie, I think, work really well. There's like a little CGI, but for the most part, they use practical effects and looks pretty good. And in terms of just Valentine's horror films, it's certainly one of the best ones out there. Doesn't exactly have stiff competition with movies like My Bloody Valentines, whether it be the original film or the remake from the 2000s or 2001's Valentine. Oof. But it's certainly better by all of those films by a significant margin. Again, thanks to just its two charming leads who are sexy and dorky and funny. You want to see these two get together by the end of the film. You want them to be a couple, even though they start off not being a couple. And maybe they do. Maybe they do become a couple, or maybe they don't. You got to watch the movie to find out. But yeah, just overall, I think this is a fun slasher, and is a perfect Valentine's movie for couples. I saw this with my girlfriend. She was out. I was like, we're going to see this on Valentine's Day. I was like, okay. And we saw on Valentine's Day. There was also a lot. Our theater was pretty packed. I would say like 2/3 of the theater were seeing this on Valentine's Day. It was pretty cool. And or at least I had our screening. And the couples seemed to all be enjoying themselves. It was the kind of thing where usually I don't like when people like talk during the movie, but this movie actually worked because some people were like vibing with the humor and people were like reacting to the kills and everything. Like everyone was having a good time. There was actually a nice a non-obnoxious commentary throughout this film by my audience, and it worked. It made it a very enjoyable experience, and that's what Hard Eyes is. It's an enjoyable movie. It doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of other slasher films or anything like that. Again, it wears its influences on its sleeves. It's very, very Scream. There's no question about it, but it does it very well for the most part. I really have too many complaints. If anything, it's very obvious who the killer is. It's like, well, it's obviously that person. Based on if you just understand, it's going to sound so pretentious. If you just understand film language or editing or things like, well, you just had that character confront the killer, and then suddenly the camera's like, we're just going to go to another scene now. We're just gonna pan over here. Like, oh, what are they doing? It's like, okay, well, we know now. So it is that. It's very obvious. But I think at the same time, it knows that. But overall, I like Hard Eyes. Fun Valentine's Day rom-com slasher film. Great to see if your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your significant other, your wife, a husband, or whatever. I think you might like it a lot. But what about you guys? What do you think of Hard Eyes? Do you think it's a really good Valentine's Day movie? Did you like it? Were you more mixed on it, or did you like downright hate it? You're like, you know what? No, give me Valentine's from 2001. That's what I need. I need to see Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what I need the film to be. Let me know.
5 minutes later.
He's the son of Cuba Gooding. Really? Oh my God. I didn't know. All these fucking Goodins popping up. Mason Gooden. Holy shit. He's the son of actor Cuba Gooding Jr. and Sarah Kapfer. Wow. Well, good for him. He's doing well for himself. He's doing very well for himself. He's going to be in the next Scream movie, too. He's in Scream 7. Nice. And his other movie he's going to star in is I Want Your Sex. Fair enough. I mean, I get it, though. I get it. He's a very handsome man. He's a very handsome man, and they like to show off his body, all right? He's like, I know what I got. And they're like, yeah, and us, the audience, are like, yeah, we know, too. So, it works. I didn't know that. Now, I said it was good, but the end ruined it. Interesting. I didn't really have a problem with the end at all. I didn't have a problem with the end. I like it. Is it romantic? Yeah, it is. Yeah. In a romantic comedy kind of way, I would say. Like the two leads of Olivia Holt and Mason Gooden. Like, he's very much, at least at first, it comes across as, very, very suave and charming and things. There's a reason as to why. Where Olivia Holt, she's more of like a little frantic, a little anxious. So they set up as to why she is that way in the movie. But you like the two of them. You like their interactions. It's like, even when HEK is not on screen, even when they're not being chased by the psycho killer, the serial killer, you like being with them. You like hanging out with them, right? And you like it with some of these other... and the other thing is, too, like, there's definitely some characters who are just fucking obnoxious, and you're like, I can't wait for them to die. And it's like, oh, thank God they died. But they also establish, like, some other characters, and they might be just tertiary, but they're kind of sweet, and it's like, oh, that's this person's so sweet. Hope nothing bad happens to him, and then dead. And I was like, whoa. I like that. But the two of them, I think, are quite good. You like them. You buy them as as a couple, as coworkers who are mistook as a couple by a psychotic serial killer. Let's see here. He says himself from his father, which is very smart. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Is Mr. Touchy-Feely Cuba Gooding Jr. himself. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. I just figured he doesn't talk about it. It's like, yeah, that's my dad. It's not me. Jason, I enjoyed it. We'll make my top movies 2025 like Companion will. Yeah, no, I like Companion more. But I still like him. But I didn't need to be. Mason Gooding was also in Booksmart, which is great. Oh, that's fucking right. I forgot about that. Yeah, he's a good actor. That's Dracula. Yes, was a Valentine's Day movie. That's true. Got some romance in there. Do you know Mason Gooding's uncle was a host for Wild and Crazy Kids on Nickelodeon? I didn't. Well, was it Big O? Because Big O's his uncle. Because we just saw his uncle in Baby Boy. He was in Smart Guy. So I didn't watch that specific show. Good to have you, though, here, Dale Murray. But I have seen his uncle and other things. But yeah, overall, I think it's a fun film. I think it's worth seeing in the theater. Check it out at your leisure. Clearly, it was the better movie to see over the Valentine's Day weekend instead of Love Hurts, which is too bad because I really like Ki-Hoo Kwan. And I like the idea of him. I mean, we know he can do that action stuff very easily. But that was too bad. Oh, well. Oh, well. See Hard Eyes, chat. See Hard Eyes. Good movie. Real good movie.